Well, you're joining me from a yellow bin in the Dee Valley. Today is Cycle Up World's End. There's the mountain behind me, the moor on top is called World's End Moor and World's End Lead Mines. I don't know why they're called that. It's, I think, about 4 kilometres and 6.5%, but there's a really nasty 1 kilometre in the middle that is particularly steep. And what's interesting about it is there's a ford halfway up that really steep section, so the river just flows over the road. And I'm going to get off and walk, so it's a bit weird in advance knowing that there's a part of a hill that I am absolutely not riding my bike up. Algae has been growing over this concrete slab of road for I don't know how many years. It's worse than ice. There is no way you can stay upright on your bike. So I think I'll just get going and we'll see what I can do.
So you know the deal by now with these comparison videos. 2023 effort on the left, 2022 effort on the right. In 2023, I said to my dad, I'm not really going to have a go at it because I don't know where the effort starts. And then it turns out it started on my Garmin. So I immediately abandoned him because I'm a horrible son. Just, spontaneously decided I would have a go. I did this effort up World's End after doing the ladder. So if you've seen that video, consider that I had that effort in my legs. In 2022, on the right, you can see me riding past my dad and my uncle Glenn, which is very nice. And a bit like with my shelf video, it's before I was doing picture-in-picture, so I will intermittently just cut to a rear view cam, which is a bit of a pain. In 2023, the effort that I'm going to talk about on the voiceover, I was feeling a little bit tired, to be honest. I didn't know how much I would have in the legs, but I thought, well, I'll just focus on keeping the speed high for this effort. I'll just roll along. And I really do like this road. If I can say, as a climb, I'm not convinced it's particularly good, but the road itself is just very picturesque. You had beautiful Highland cows on the left there. At the very beginning, you're riding along like a fast-flowing stream, and actually you follow a stream all the way up. That's the ford that you cross. So it's a really nice piece of road to ride. The surface, although like mossy and got loose gravel and stuff on it, the actual surface you ride on's pretty good compared to a lot of the stuff I do. So that's very nice in that respect. It's hard to pick significant moments to compare between 2023 and 2022, but I'll tell you that I'm already relatively far ahead, 10 or 15 seconds. So maybe keep a note of that like bridge and wall I've just passed on the left hand side. I like as you open up into this space, you can really see the mountains. Here's that bridge and wall in 2022. You can see the mountains that you're basically going up in between and up to the moor, and it's deceptive, this climb, because you actually start at quite significant elevation above Llangollen. If you do it from Llangollen itself, you have to climb quite a lot to get to where I filmed that intro. So you're already high up, but you climb an awful lot more. This part that I'm now at in 2023, the rear view camera, I just think it's very picturesque looking down the river valley, and it's the steepest part before the ford of this climb. So I quite often invest a reasonable amount of effort in there. God, it's only now that I'm filming the voiceover I've realised just how far out my metrics are. I do apologise. I can tell you that I'm not doing 0 watts. I'm doing quite a lot of watts.
All right. I'm hopping off as well. Me neither.
There we go. Skip over this ford as quickly as possible. I try and only spend 5 or 10 seconds of time, and I just accept that I'm going to lose that. That bloke who was crossing it said he never cycles through it either, which is always reassuring. And it's only 5 minutes probably that you go around this kind of V bend in the road, but that whole section is really, really beautiful. The whole thing is really lovely to ride. And as you can see, in 2022, I'm just approaching the ford now. So I've put a good amount of time in. Straight after the ford is when things get serious. You're looking at gradients of up to 20%. I'm not convinced I believe 21, 22% really, but it does get steep. It gets properly steep, and you really do want to put a lot of effort in for these 5 minutes, in my opinion, to get your fastest possible time. It's one of those climbs that's like stepped a little bit, but even the bits that I think are flat are not at all flat. They're just less steep than the really steep bits, so it does get a bit tough. As ever, to repeat myself, the view to my left, lovely. All the way back down to Llangollen, lovely view down the valley. You can really enjoy it whilst you're doing this climb, and for me that does make quite a bit of difference. Although yes, you can focus on what you're doing and really try and bang out a great effort. If you're doing that in amazing surroundings, it's just that much easier to have a good time, and at the risk of sounding like your mum, who will always have told you this if she's anything like my mum, you do better when you're having fun. Don't think my mum's ever said that to me, but it's a classic like parental phrase, isn't it? Rhiannon says it to me all the time. You do better if you're enjoying a climb. It eases off just a little bit here, which is quite nice. You get down into single digit gradients, so you can get a bit of speed up on this decent tarmac. I say a bit of speed up, I'm not going quickly at all, as you can tell. And then it rears up and it goes through this forestry, which we're about to approach. The top of this area is quite popular with mountain bikers. I don't know if they do downhill or what, but quite often you'll see vans at the top with mountain bikes spilling out. I think it's like trails, cross-country mountain biking sort of stuff. Which does mean it can get annoyingly trafficky, but it's never too bad. Then you cross this cattle grid, and the road surface decides it would be closer to the surface of the moon than a tarmac road, which is deeply frustrating, and it's absolutely horrible from here all the way down the other side to Minera. So yeah, it becomes almost cyclocross at this point. You've just got to get on with it, unfortunately. Where this road goes, and for riding over it and where it takes you between, I think it's worth every second of hating the surface, but it's not ideal. At this point, I did realise I was putting really good time into my PB, which I hadn't been expecting in 2023, and I'm really quite delighted, and I decide, well, I've just got to dig to make that count. And really there's only one more steep bit of hill, which you can see ahead of me. This car's kindly pulled in so I can go past, and I just want to attack it. It does get, it gets steeper than I wanted, because I didn't want to use my little ring at this point, but I couldn't really get up this 15% bit in my big ring, especially when I've got a derailleur with a short cage on the back, so I can't even mess about with trying to get to the 28 in my big ring. Yeah, I wanted to really push as hard as I could, so I was keeping it over 350 watts, really head down, put the power out, get up to speed. And I wasn't completely convinced I knew where it ended, but I knew that it was any minute now, so I just wanted to put the power down. In 2022, I tried to draft that van temporarily, and it didn't go very well. So something I find hard when I do the second or third effort of a ride is that it feels like my muscles start to cramp when I try and put the power down over threshold. I can maybe do another threshold effort and another threshold effort, but I really struggled with the strong finish a second time round. That sort of VO2 to anaerobic reproducibility, just not there for me yet. Nonetheless, very happy with my result in 2023, which is just finishing. Yeah, it was a really good effort. I feel like I must have had a howling tailwind. I can't think how else I would have done quite so well up here. Not a climb that I've done loads of times, so maybe it's just that my other time was so bad that it wasn't really a problem. I don't know, but you see in 2022 I'm only just approaching that steep bit. In 23 I did feel like I was about to spit blood, so, you know, it was a hard effort. Please don't think I just cruised up here and that's why I'm saying I had a tailwind, but yeah, it was tough. Really delighted when it tells me I've beat Steve Cummings. So there you go. I shouldn't have left that rear camera on, but 12th overall on the leaderboard, which is great, and a good average of 342 watts for the effort. So for me that's really strong. You can see where I beat myself is all the way along, really. At the very beginning, 2022 and 2023 me were relatively well matched, but yeah, I was just consistently putting time in, which makes me feel really confident that I've got the ability to do that. in 2022, this was the only effort I did. I didn't have any fatigue in my legs. I've punched myself on a little bit in double time, and it still looks like I'm going single time, doesn't it? Very slow. Hyperventilating, of course. Unfortunately, at this point in 2022, I hurt my knee, and it sort of dragged on. That's a recurring theme for me, but yeah, it was a bit of a downer on this ride. Hope you've enjoyed the comparison video, guys. I really like this climb. I don't think of it very often, so I hope you've enjoyed seeing it again with a faster Nick. Yeah, cheers for watching.